Okay, so we just picked up a used giant Snowman. He's 15 feet tall, but he's a little rough around the edges. The cord on the fan is damaged. We're going to have to repair that. And this guy has a great big hole in the bottom. Somebody must have jumped on him and blew out the bottom. So we're going to have to sew him up, and we're going to have to fix the wires. So we figure we show you a video on how we sew the holes up in these inflatables to make them last longer, and how we repair wires on a fan.
Let's get them out.
Yeah, let's get them out.
Oh my gosh, he's so huge. I forget what it looks like. Oh my gosh. Look at these hands. They're huge.
So the whole bottom of them is split. So normally I sew these by hand, but I picked up the handheld stitching machine. So we're going to see how this does compared to how I do my handiwork by hand. But this should speed it up by 10 times what I do by hand, probably 100 times. So we'll see how this works.
They have a light in the hand too.
Yeah, it has lights. I don't know how many lights it has. So whenever you're going to repair them, you want to turn them inside out. This one's got some substantial holes, so it's going to take a little while. But turn them inside out, and then pinch them together. And when you sew it from the inside, so when you fold it out the other way, it'll have a nice seam in it. Okay, so we got this seam all lined up. Put some clothespin on it to kind of hold it together.
So you can.
Okay.
That scares you. And then it's going to be up, and then it goes back up by itself. I now found something in these box. I found this one. I found this box.
Yeah, we're going to sew that one too.
I guess you're supposed to.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
You can see the seam we just did. Okay, now when we get to the end, I cut the long string here, but if you keep pulling it, it'll unravel. So I use a little string guide eyelet, I don't know what they're called, but I use this, go through the stitches, pull it back through. You can YouTube on how to properly tie off a stitch and learn how to do it, but I use one of these. So we're going to go ahead and do that on this side and the other side so that it won't come unraveled. Okay, for this next one, it's really long. It goes from here all the way around over to here. So this is the biggest tear. So I'm going to start again here, work my way that way. Okay, so we got that all the way across. I'm into this corner over here. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with this. So I think I'm gonna tie this off and then investigate this corner and see exactly what I gotta do. But as you can see, like always, you have an audience. It's like they're waiting for their new friend to come alive. We're gonna do the motor next. As you can see, a mouse or something chewed these wires. It still works, but it's not safe. So I'm going to show you how I repair these wires on an inflatable with this style blower. It's going to be the same exact way that I repair them on the smaller ones. So I'll show you how we do it. What you're going to need is a pair of wire cutters and crimpers and strippers. These do all three in one. This pair I have. I have a little butane torch that I can use to heat the shrink wrap. Then I have the shrink wrap that I'll put over the wires. And then when I'm done, I always electrical tape it over top of the shrink wrap just as a double safety. These are the crimps that I use to repair it. And everything's out. I get this stuff at auto repair stores. I don't know if the hardware stores will have the exact same stuff that I use, but I'm sure they may. So what I did with this one, because these were chewed right where it goes in, I took this cover off right here and used some pliers and pulled this plug out. Took this off of the wires. There's always some extra wire coiled up in here, so rather than replacing the whole wire, I'm just going to repair it. So I just pulled a little bit extra out. We're going to go ahead and just cut this and then wire back up. Just watch your wires. They have to go back together the same way. There's always one marked. This one here has some writing on it. This one doesn't have anything on it. So when we put it back together, you want to make sure you put the writing with the writing and the non-writing with the non-writing. Or sometimes there's just lines on them. One of them's going to have some sort of marks on it usually. So after I cut them, I always like to shorten them up a little bit to get some fresh, clean wire. You got plenty of wire, so you can take off whatever you need. Some people like to stagger them so they're not right on top of each other at places, but with the limited space I have here, I'm not going to be able to do that. Then split your wire in two. I do maybe not quite a quarter inch of wire out. It depends on the connector that you're using, what you need to use, how much wire you need out. So there's those two, nice and clean, ready to go. So now I'll take my heat shrink, figure out what size is best. That'll work a little better. So I'm going to put a bigger one over both of them. Just like this. Slide it down here. And I'll put one of these on each one of these wires. So that's what it looks like. Got the big one that I'll slide up over top of these ones when I'm done with them. So here's the connector I put on. And you're just going to take the crimper, make sure you got the wire seated all the way in, and just crimp it. Make sure it doesn't come out. Do this one. Crimp it. And when you're done, you'll see some nice divots in it where it has the wire smashed into the actual crimp itself. And then, like I said before, this one has the writing on it. Not sure if you can see it. So we got to line that one up with the one up here that has the writing. Sorry, just crimp these onto here. Make sure I got my wires in the right position. Once you get it crimped real nice and tight, give it a good pull. Make sure it's not coming off. And then now I'll slide my heat shrink up. I always try to do one at a time, but these are kind of close. So I'm going to put them both up there so I don't accidentally heat it before I pull it up there. I just take the torch. These are really nice torches. And then I'll just start heating. You can use a lighter. This is a little easier, a little safer than having an open flame. As it heat shrinks down, you'll be able to see the outline of the connectors. That's how you know it's all the way down, but you need to go all the way around it. This just makes a real nice waterproof seal. Some people like to use solder. I'm not a huge solder fan because I feel that it gets brittle over time. and then it tends to break. Might be just the solder I'm using, I'm not sure, but I've had really good luck with these. So I'll give this a minute, let it cool down so I can slide this one up over top of it. Okay, I was going to slide this bigger heat shrink up over both of these and then heat it down, but when I put this on I didn't factor in that I needed to have it a little bit bigger to go over the heat shrink I put on the wires, so I can't get it to go up over. So we're not going to put it up over. I'm just going to heat it right here just because I don't feel like cutting it off, and then we'll just electrical tape it real good just to give it a little extra strength, because this is the pivot point where my son's going to be yanking and pulling, and these are the places where they tend to break the most. That's right here. So we're gonna just heat it up and electrical tape it. Alright, and there we go. Good as new. So let's plug it in and see if we can blow this giant up before Mason sees it in the morning, and see if I got any more big holes I gotta fix or just a couple small ones. Let's check it out. See one light working. Oh yeah, that's cool. Lights are working. Alright, this thing is massive. It's too big for the basement. Even laying on its side, I gotta drop ceiling and start pushing the ceiling up. So I had to turn it off, but the part I sewed on the bottom is holding up awesome. He's got some holes in the middle, just a bunch of small little ones, so that should be pretty easy to repair those. There's one section, there's a couple like inch ones pretty close to each other, so I'll probably just make a slit through them all and just make one stitch to fill that in. But other than that, I mean, he looks pretty cool. But it's supposed to be almost 50 tomorrow and in the 50s on Sunday, so we'll get it outside and get it up in the air and show you what it looks like outside. Mason's gonna love it.